Hi-ho, middle of August. We're talking Brewers, we're talking Packers. We are on the FOX6 Sports Blitz. See Brandon Cruz, Tim Van Voorn, Lily Zhao, not with us tonight, but somewhere in spirit. She'll be with us next week for sure. Glad you're around. Hey, here's what's coming up. Our starting lineup. The Brewers satisfy their Fangs' hunger by winning 12 games in a row, and then they keep going, rallying for a record on a wild Saturday night in Cincinnati. A Pro Bowler makes us say what? He and his teammates fare well doing their indie drills in the Hoosier State, and our latest high school hotshot's not horsing around one bit.
Well, I think we need shirts now. We're the Burger Boys, you know. First time since, what did you say, 87? Aggregator, 87?
87.
We need some shirts, the Burger Boys, yeah.
It has not happened often in Brewers history, just twice prior to this time around. A little more recent than 1987, but just the same. 12 in a row, Brandon Cruz. Let's start there. Why not? It was the type of thing that Milwaukee was hanging in anticipation on with these guys earlier in the year, and getting it done this week.
It was last month that we were looking at this going, wait a minute, they've won 11 in a row. This month they do it. They make it 12 in a row, and they got to do it at home. I think that made things so special for the players because it was an amped-up atmosphere for what would be a normal game. Instead, it felt like the playoffs because the fans knew burgers were on the line. The players knew burgers were on the line, and it just really juiced up everything. And I think it made for such a wild ride, such a fun day that afternoon at the park.
And people will get to cash in on this. George Webb got a lot of mileage out of the promotion the first time around. This time we'll actually come up with the burgers. Hey, the season's not over. This is a legitimate baseball team. They could make another run at something like this.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, just because it comes to an end, this is a team that has shown they don't lose very often. And when you've won 52 of 69 games, that's an incredible stretch. I mean, that's nearly half a season, and they've already won 52 games. I mean, it's crazy what they've done since late May.
Even with major injuries.
Right.
Key players are not here. Guys come up, they contribute. They've had so many different heroes, and the streak kept going throughout the week. You go into Cincinnati, a victory on Friday night, a victory on Saturday night, dramatic fashion.
Yeah, let's start with Friday night. It's Christian Yelich. He's using the Bob Uecker bat, and he has a phenomenal game. He goes 4 for 5. He hits a couple of home runs. And remember, this team was down 8-1 in that game.
Yep.
And because of Yelich and everybody else, there was no give up. And this was 8-1 after 2 innings. By the 4th inning, it was tied at 8. In the 6th inning, Yelich hits a home run to give them the lead for good. They win 10-8, and Trevor McGill gets the saves. But it was Christian Yelich really bringing this one back for everybody else. They just kind of rode his coattails into that win.
And really, think about that. You're down 8-1, and you still come back to win on the road. You know this was under the skin of the Cincinnati Reds. On Saturday, they go back out there, and the Reds, who couldn't make every play in the Friday night game, sold out all over the place Saturday night. They were trying so hard to win that game, diving for pop fouls and managing as though it was a playoff game.
Yeah, and again, the Reds take a lead into the 9th inning, and an error undoes them. Mm-hmm. And you see Sal Frelick reach, and then it's Andrew Monasterio, who started the year in AAA, comes up and hits an amazing home run. A moment, obviously, he'll never forget, and we'll show it to you here because what he did was something that had not been done all year by this team that has won so many games. That's a pinch hit home run, and he delivers that in the 11th inning after the Brewers escaped trouble in the 10th. It was just quite a moment.
First pinch hit home run of the season for the Brewers, and I think you described Andrew Monasterio as a light hitting player, and he delivers and cracked it right out of there. You're thinking, what else could come through for these guys?
Well, and that's the thing. It really has been magical, and a lot of people have been bringing up Bob Uecker and the magic there. And clearly, this team has been playing with him on and in their hearts. And what you see is that even though he's been gone since January, this is the bat that Christian Yelich had for last year's Players Weekend. He brings it out this year, and he hits those 2 home runs and helps them come back. Also, after the game, Pat Murphy talked about just how much Uecker has meant to this team, and it was a talk they had before the season even started.
And we talked about it's devastating, but the loss of Ueck and what that meant to the organization, to whatever, that we just have to convince ourselves he's with us.
Well, there are a lot of reasons that people are thinking he's with them. There's no question about the way the Brewers are going right now. So you get the win to get to 14 in a row. It comes to an end on Sunday afternoon, but not without a fight.
No, again, this is a team that showed more magic even in a loss. And what happened was they hadn't scored a run. They hadn't really put many people on base throughout the game. But in the ninth inning, they get a leadoff walk. And then all of a sudden, with one out, here comes William Contreras. The first pitch he sees, he hits out of the park to give him a 2-1 lead, and all of a sudden you're thinking 15 wins is going to happen. But in the end, it's Austin Hayes who ruins that day for the Brewers as he ends up getting a base hit in the 10th inning to walk this thing off. But there's no reason this team should be hanging their heads. It was a depleted bullpen. They had so many guys that were unavailable. You bring in Grant Anderson trying to get the ground ball. He does. It just happens to be the wrong part of the
Right,
the
and Tobias Myers had looked good, and some people are saying, why didn't you just stay with Myers, who had started into the inning here, but just goes away on Grant Anderson in the ninth and then in the 10th on Grant Anderson. But fairness to Grant Anderson, too. This is a guy who was sent down during the week. He comes back up because of another injury. He warms up last night at the end of the game when he didn't go in. So, I mean, everybody spread pretty thin. At some point, this was probably going to run out on the Brewers, and it does today.
It does. And you know, you talk about the bullpen being depleted. Here's a big reason why. In that 8-1 comeback, in their 10-8 win, coming back from 8-1, the bullpen had to carry the load because Jacob Mizorowski doesn't last long. But when that bullpen came on, every single guy did his job. They recorded 23 straight outs to keep the offense in it and allow that offense to bring them back. And this was from everybody. Of course, it ends with Trevor McGill getting the save, but every single person from the bullpen that came in had to do their job and hold the line, and that's exactly what happened. And that's what's incredible about this group is they seem to find everybody when they're called upon to do their job, be it from the bullpen, be it at the plate. It's just showing you how much this team means.
It wasn't very long ago we talked about the Brewers pushing to the top of the standings in Major League Baseball. They're the best team in baseball. Now there's a gap between them and everybody else in Major League Baseball. Are they going to hit the wall at some point because of this?
I can't imagine it just because of the attitude they have. I mean, you can see the standings here. They're 6 games better than the Blue Jays. They're 7.5 games better than the closest team in the National League. You're looking to get that bye in the first round of the playoffs and not have to play in the wild card. We know how the wild card has ended for the Brewers recently. So that's what they're going to be pushing for. And the thing that's really fun about this group and interesting is they're not looking at what September brings. They're not looking at what 2 weeks from now. They're worried about tomorrow and the 2 games with the Cubs. And the fact that they're able to keep that, what's in front of them in their focus, that to me is why I don't see them running into a wall.
They've called up Chad Patrick to start one of those games in that doubleheader. Jackson Chourio was the absolute carry man for a while. He hasn't even played. He's coming back at some point here. You're going to have some major roster decisions. Rhys Hoskins probably would have a role on the team, but not an easy one. And it's not only where you're going to play those guys. You have to take somebody off the roster to put these guys on, and that's not an easy call.
I don't want to be Matt Arnold. I think it's a good problem to have for him, but at this point, to be that GM and trying to put the pieces together when you have so many and you're having so much success, because you don't want to disrupt that clubhouse. And we saw that happen years ago with Josh Hader being traded. So you're out of that mix because the trade deadline's gone. But now you have to worry about, okay, who stays, who goes, and that is a very tough job to do. But the one thing we've seen the Brewers do under Matt Arnold and with his group is they generally find the right way to do things to keep people happy.
I don't know if the Brewers said this, but there were a lot of fans earlier in the season who would say that Joey Ortiz's position on the team was a bit tenuous. He was certainly fielding well, but offensively he looked lost at times. Right now, Joey Ortiz is just doing it at both ends, doing offensively and defensively. Offense here and defense too. What more could you ask for from this guy?
Well, he's hitting nearly 400 during this stretch right now, and he's doing it in key moments, driving in runs, taking extra bases when he sees it, and he just seems to have this confidence at the plate that he's going to deliver when his number is called. Now we switch to his defense. That's been his calling card all season long. And you see this play. Look at this, what he did on Saturday night. What an incredible play to keep things going for the Brewers. He just had Quentin Priest going, thank you. And every night we see plays like that from him. So he's able to keep his focus defensively, but now it's translated to his offensive success.
And speaking of translated, the Brewers now take all this into Chicago. 5 games with the Chicago Cubs. There was a time when this looked like a monster series. Now, as we showed you the standings earlier, the Brewers are well in front of the Cubs. The Cubs could make up some ground, though, in this series alone. What do you anticipate at Wrigley Field over the next few days?
I think it's going to be intense. I think you're still going to have the intensity despite it not being so close in the standings at this point. An 8-game lead over the Cubs to start on Monday. So I do think they'll still battle. They're both very good teams. The Cubs have won 2 straight. The Brewers now have lost 1. But I think it's a friendly or even more intense rivalry than maybe it was earlier because of what the Brewers have done. When the Brewers faced them earlier, this was a lead by the Cubs in the division. Now the Brewers are trying to pull away. And if the Brewers can take 4 of 5, that would really stretch this. I mean, that's asking a lot. It's on the road against a very good team. But the way they've been playing, 4 of 5 isn't out of the question.
The Brewers did take 2 of 3 in the video we're looking at here, and that really seemed to shift. As you said, the chase was there at the top of the division, and since that, boy, the fortunes of these teams have gone in different directions. Not that the Cubs have been terrible, but the Brewers have been so good.
Well, and what you saw there was just all of a sudden there are 3 games under 500 at the end of May. Then they start to turn things around. And then you kind of notice it, like you said, with that series in late July at American Family Field against the Cubs, where they did take 2 of 3. They lost the game on getaway day. But I think it kind of solidified in their minds that, no, this is the team to beat. Not the Cubs, not the Reds, definitely not the Cardinals or Pirates, but the Brewers. And the Brewers can look in the mirror and realize that they are the team that everyone's chasing and everyone wants to emulate. And it's really funny now because who would have said at the beginning of July that by mid-August, everybody in baseball will be talking about what the Brewers are doing and how great they are and their World Series odds. Here we are.
Yeah, and Isaac Collins out for the weekend because his wife has a baby, but he's just ripping it up and now maybe a favorite for Rookie of the Year.
We were talking about Jacob Mizorowski for that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, okay, well, let's talk about Mizorowski, though, before we get off the Brewers. He did have a rough outing the other night. Granted, he was coming back from time on the injured list, but do you make anything of that or just a rough night?
Just a rough night. He said the mound wasn't comfortable. We also saw Trevor McGill fall off of it in Saturday night's win. So, there could be some issues with the mound in Cincinnati, but also they just wanted to get him work against major league hitters. They didn't feel that it would be as effective to send him down for a rehab start. So I think anything they were going to get out of him was good, even though he didn't deliver and he was wild, walking 3 guys, hitting a batter, and allowing so many runs and only an inning and a third. He still got the work in, and now he can move forward and pitch in this Cubs series.
Well, and you talked about how the bullpen picked him up, and that's one thing the Brewers have going right now. They got a lot of innings out of Jose Quintana, then coming back. You get Quinn Priester coming back. You guys, you're able to pick up some other spots. That's what this Brewer team has done to this point. There's still some baseball left to be played in the regular season, though, starting with this big week coming up in Chicago. And don't forget that Tuesday night game is right here on Fox 6. Packers? Yeah, Packers. I mean, most of the years people are like, oh, hey, the Packers. They spent the week in Indianapolis with the Colts. Some good, some bad, some ugly. We're going to roll on the Fox 6 Sports Blitz.
What is it when you're the lead of the parade? What do they call you?
Isthmus. Antsiness or whatever the word is.
I never knew that. You learn something new every day.
I was in the backfield all day. Same as Lucas, KC, DY, JJ. Shoot, we had Doug, young rookie popping up. I could keep on going, 9-9, Barron. We had a couple good guys that was locked in and focused and causing a lot of havoc.
I'm surprised he didn't say you were creating havoc out
Across the line of scrimmage, yeah. Rashawn Gary Lovett, he's passing it around.
And that was just after a practice.
Right. The joint practice with the Indianapolis Colts said the Packer defenders were in a very good mood coming off the field. The offensive guys, not quite so much, but the defenders were in a good mood that day.
Well, let's talk about the practice and the defense. What was it about them that stood out so much in that joint practice as they finally see an opposing team?
Yeah, they were swarming and they were beating the Colts offensive linemen. The Colts don't have a great offensive line, so let's factor that in here. But they were across the line, the starters for the Packers defense. Now, if you watched the game on Saturday, you didn't see quite as much of that. Now, those were the number 2 guys, and they weren't necessarily having as much success as the players did in the practice.
And we could show some of that video from the defense doing well, because the one thing he talked about was the havoc they created. I mean, that's a word you want to see associated with your defense.
Absolutely, and of course the Packers have been, as we've talked about many times, investing on that side of the ball, trying to create more identity on that side of the ball, an aggressive ball hawking unit. Jeff Hafley's second year now as defensive coordinator. The players really like to play for Hafley, but what kind of results are you going to get? Let's face it, you can have a nice guy, you want to have results. They want to be a ball hawking, aggressive unit, and on that day at least it looked like they had the makings of that.
It wasn't that way for the offense on that day.
No, it was not. And as we flip the video over to the offense, what I watched a lot of was inaccuracy, to be honest with you. Sean Clifford here, number 16. Taylor Elgersma, number 19. Even Malik Willis, number 2. They were all missing wide receivers. Jordan Love did not practice, of course. He has the surgical thumb situation that he's coming back from, although Matt LaFleur says that Love will practice a little bit this week. They'll try to avoid any contact with the thumb. And I'm not laying all of it on the quarterbacks. The wide receivers have been depleted by injury, so you have some young guys, particularly in that practice situation, who maybe looked like they were swimming a little bit. They played a little bit better in the game on Saturday.
Yeah, let's get to the game. You mentioned Jordan Love not there, but he does play a role in this game, even though he's not suited up to play.
Right, and he wanted to join the team. He had surgery out in Los Angeles. He could have said, hey, I'll skip this week. No, he wanted to get with the team. He wanted to be there as the mentor-type guy that he fancies himself to be with these younger quarterbacks. Malik Willis has a good relationship with Jordan Love, and Love was right there with his guy. So encouraging end the game at the Lucas Oil Stadium. And, Jordan Love, as I said, supposed to practice a little bit this week. He said specifically, I asked him, what about week 1 and losing these reps? We have a lot of good work already banked. Me missing a few days, and that's what it's going to turn out to be, just a few days. That's not going to set us too far behind.
All right, let's take a look at Elgersma playing, because he kind of led this offense in the second half. He started the third quarter, and they actually started moving the ball, which they didn't do in the first half very well.
Yeah, and he didn't look good at the start. He came in the first half, and he looked very shaky, overwhelmed, like this is too much for him. You get a little confidence here in the second half. You throw a little swing pass out there. Manuel Wilson takes off, and you start picking up the yards. That helps anybody. He looked much better in the second half, much more composed. He's a big guy. He's got a big arm. Keep in mind, in Canada, he played in college in Canada. You have 12 players on each side in Canada. So he's adjusting to not only the NFL, but even a different style of football and a brand new playbook for the Packers and everything like that. So Taylor Elgersma, I think, has potential. Do they view him? He also was risky with the ball, though. So that's one thing, Brandon. These young quarterbacks sometimes, I can force it in there. Well, I'm not sure if he's ahead of Sean Clifford or not, because you have to have someone, if it's thrown into an emergency situation, who's not going to lose a game for you. He may not win one, but can't lose a game for you.
And Sean Clifford has kind of more experience. We'll see who is the number 3. And maybe this week kind of thins that out, because they do have a practice with the Seahawks and one more game to put it out there on the field. So what are your thoughts quickly going into that Seattle week?
I think it's a big week for guys like Sean Clifford, for instance. The Packers know what they have. He has moxie. He can do things. Is that going to be enough to keep him ahead of Taylor Elgersma? That's one of the more intriguing situations to watch this week, I think.
It will be fun to see for sure. Well, when we come back, it's going to be fun to introduce you to our high school hotshots. Stay with us. Thanks for staying up a little later than normal for us tonight. She's participated in multiple clubs and sports, but her passion is animals, specifically her riding teammate, and she's this week's high school hotshot.
Hi, I'm Michelle Bernardi. I'm going to Luxembourg Casco. I'll be a freshman, and I am an equestrian rider. We are at the Wisconsin State Fairgrounds. I'm with the Champion Challenge, so I'll be doing equitation over fences, hunter over fences, and a mini medal. So Luna, she is a Warlander, which is a mix between a Frisian and an Andalusian. And she was originally bred in Mexico for Mexican dancing. I started out doing hockey and figure skating and all of that. I started skating when I was 2. My dad is a big hockey guy. Hey, why don't we put you in hockey? I know they stink and there's boys, but eventually he won. And then I decided that's not what I wanted to do. I don't know, I like animals, I want to do something with that. And he was like, fine, you win. So then I started with jumping and dressage, and I was like, okay, this is new, this is exciting, it feels like we're flying. I mean, when we first got her, she would not canter. What most people say is running in circles, or that's what my dad says, because, he's a hockey guy. I mean, after jumping, she's so excited to do that. She loves it so much. For Luxembourg, I'm super excited to go into track And the equestrian team that just started, probably trying out some more sports. I know I'm definitely going to watch some of the soccer games.
But not hockey.
No. We've had turtles, snakes. We have 2 rabbits. We've definitely had a lot of birds. And of course, we have Luna and all the lesson horses too that I've been obsessed over. Yeah, I love animals. Hi, I'm Rochelle Bernardi. I will be a freshman at Luxembourg Casco, and I'm an equestrian rider, riding at State Fair with Luna. I am this week's FOX6 High School Hotshot.
And we get it, Michelle, no more hockey. But Michelle and Luna may consider barrel racing, but they definitely will continue to compete together in the riding arena. We'll be right back with the week ahead.
All right, Brewers, big week ahead. 5 games in Chicago against the Cubs. Doubleheader Monday, game 2, or actually day 2. It would be game 3, I guess. It would be Tuesday right here on Fox 6, and then the week finishes up for the Giants back here in Milwaukee, the big Bob Uecker celebration part of the weekend. The Packers look forward to their final week of the preseason. Open practice Tuesday, joint practice was the Seahawks Thursday. Then they play the preseason finale Saturday.
And can you believe it? High school football is here this week. I know, Thursday it all kicks off. And then the high school Blitz returns with Lily and me. That is Friday night. IndyCar comes to the Milwaukee Mile Sunday. And you can watch the race right here on Fox 6. That's at 1 o'clock.
Of course, the IndyCar season points have already been determined for Alex Palou, but a lot on the line and interesting to watch when they come back to the mile.
Yeah, very different than what we saw with Road America when they were here earlier this year. So this should be a fun weekend period around here.
Absolutely. Fun week. You think? Brewers, Packers, Milwaukee Mile? Yeah, that qualifies.
Does.
See ya.